being here. My name is Laura Murphy. I want to welcome you to the MSD Prevention Innovation Challenge informational webinar. I'm joined by Paige DeBalo. She's from the National Safety Council, and she's going to join me in giving you some context for, how to apply, what's reasons to apply, and also sort of what the NSC is looking for in terms of solutions that may help you, get to the finish line and have presence at Tech Connect World Innovation Conference, where this all culminates. So we're going to spend today going through a little bit of that. If you have any questions, please ask them in the questions. There's on your control panel a questions tab. We'll get to those at the end. I think we have a relatively small group today, so hopefully we'll definitely be able to get to anything that's specific to you and treat this just as like a working session to support you in any way that we can as you move toward your application. So to get started, this is what we're looking for. So we really want any solutions, technologies that have the potential to reduce frequency or severity of musculoskeletal disorders. So we want to reduce risks in 3 specific areas: forceful exertion, awkward postures, repetitive motion. And so Paige will speak a little bit more about like some of the specific types of solutions and technologies and things like that that maybe make a lot of sense. The things that might be in scope for this, and also if you have anything in mind, if you have a technology or a solution in mind and you'd like to ask about that, we'd be happy to answer anything that you're unsure about. But it's free to apply, which is fantastic, and you do actually receive a travel stipend if you make it into the finals and actually go to the event, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So these are some of the areas of interest that will and this is not an exhaustive list, but this is the sort of thing that NSC is looking for, and that would be a good fit with their program with the MSD Solutions Lab. So exoskeletons and physical assistance solutions, wearables and sensors, AI, VR, training and readiness options, simulation, digital twins, so computer vision, visualization technologies, and the list goes on. So if you can find a way that your solution sort of speaks to any of these 3 risks, then that's probably a good fit. But these are some ideas of the sorts of things where you can see a technology overlay. And then when it comes to maturity, this can be sort of closer to the research phase. Usually NSC is looking at things that are a little further along in the commercial readiness scale. But in this case, it's actually, we are much more open to earlier maturity levels, so TRLs that are much lower, and things that provide not only technologies, but also maybe other approaches that you could think of that are out-of-the-box solutions to ergonomic challenges. So it's a bit of a wider net than we've cast before for MSD-related challenges. We recently ran one actually with NSC that you may be familiar with, and that had a very specific kind of end use case. But for this one, we were open to more maturity levels. So if you're a little earlier stage, that's also a great fit. So for a timeline, please submit by November 14th, end of day, midnight. We will notify everyone by mid-December if you're an option for a pitch presentation, and confirm you by late December for pitches. And then NSC will have an innovation showcase at Tech Connect World Innovation Conference, March 10th through 12th. That'll be on the expo floor. We're inviting 20 innovators into that, and we'll notify the showcasers in early January and confirm them by mid-January. So you can kind of have a sense of how, so you'll definitely know something, in the early January timeframe. If you haven't heard anything by then, sit tight. We'll respond to every respondent. We'll let you know how it all shook out for you. But this is sort of the order of operations for how that looks. And so to tell you a little bit more about the opportunities that I've alluded to, so the top 20 innovators will receive placement in the innovation corridor on the expo floor that I spoke to. So this is a chance for you to access, have a booth space, have a presence, receive like a specific kind of accolade and shout out in this like well-branded corridor. And being part of that, you get a chance to engage with all of the event attendees. So, we're looking at a couple of thousand folks who, are both solution providers and researchers like you, but also, corporate technology scouts, federal agency representatives, funders. Those could be, traditional investors. They could be consortium managers. They could be representing federal dollars from agencies. We have a co-located STTR event that takes place there. So you'll have agency representatives from those. We have a co-located Smart Cities Connect event that takes place. So you'll have or Smart Cities Connect, there's like audience. So cities, you'll have definite overlap on the floor there. So there's a really like broad spectrum across, who is at the event. But key audiences there would be like other researchers and innovators like you, and then also corporate scouts and funders are really the most important folks to be aware of. And you also get a chance to engage in a more intimate way with NSC itself, who will have a booth in the corridor. If you're one of the top 6, in addition to being in the corridor, you receive the chance to pitch to the live audience. So you'll have placement in the program formally. There's a review panel. You typically pitch for about 5 minutes, and then there's a Q&A that lasts for 2 to 3 minutes. And that's to an audience that can, come and go. So it's the same sort of demographic that I mentioned before, federal and municipal leaders, funders, innovation providers, and technology scouts from corporations and things like that will all be in the audience, and they represent the potential to like understand what it is that you do, and for you to pitch to them how you could potentially work with them, partner with them, why they should fund you, and things like that. So that will be in the top 6 innovators get integrated into the program that way. And then, so all of those selected participants will receive, or are eligible to receive, reimbursement of $4,500, and that covers all of your upfront booth fees or travel expenses up to that amount. So obviously, depending on where you come from and how far you're going and how you travel, that could cover all, or even a little bit more than all of your expenses, or it could not quite cover it. Just depends. But $4,500 will be a set rate offered to you just because you were selected. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the baton off to Paige, who is going to tell us a little bit more, speak a little bit more about scope, speak a little bit more about the MSD Solutions Lab, give a background on sort of why they are doing the challenge and why you should apply. So Paige, to you.
Alrighty, thanks, Laura. Let me share my screen and share some slides with you guys. But yeah, thanks for kind of kicking us off with those logistics, Laura, for the challenge being run at Tech Connect World. I think that really helps folks understand what we're doing here. And we at the National Safety Council are really excited to be partnering with you guys on this event and bringing some of these safety solutions into the hands of more and more folks who might benefit from them. So during my portion today, I'm going to provide a background on NSC, kind of who we are, what we're focusing on. And then I'll discuss a little more about the lab and our focus on preventing MSDs in the workplace as well. And then we'll dive into talking about what we're looking for in the challenge, types of tech we'd like to see, what would stand out to us in your application. And like Laura mentioned, there'll be plenty of time for Q&A at the end. So already jumping in. So what is the National Safety Council? If you aren't familiar with us, the National Safety Council has been America's leading nonprofit safety advocate for over 110 years. And our mission really stays the same at NSC. Despite all of the safety changes that have happened over those 110 years, we're really aiming to help people live their fullest lives, both at work and at home. And so our mission at NSC was born out of a terrible disaster that happened in 1911. And in case you're not familiar with the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire, this fire was one of the deadliest industrial disasters in U.S. history that resulted in the deaths of nearly 150 garment workers, mostly women ages 14 to 23. And these deaths were preventable. Had we had the proper safeguards in place, such as sprinklers in a building or safer work practices like unlocked doors and exits, these folks might have been saved. And so this fire really led to legislation that required improving factory safety standards and helped spur the formation of the National Safety Council. And so ever since, NSC has been committed to eliminating preventable deaths and injuries. We have over 13,000 member companies that cover more than 41,000 work sites, all in this effort to keep workers safer on and off the clock. And so our work at the National Safety Council focuses on places where we can have the most impact, so at work and on the road. And so being data-driven, we really follow the research because we know that behind those data and behind the numbers are real people that we're trying to keep safer. And so one of those data pieces that we've been following is the impact of what we often call ergonomic injuries, repetitive strain injuries, or musculoskeletal disorders. And so these are injuries of your muscles, nerves, tendons, joints, cartilage, and spinal discs. And in our work at the National Safety Council and in specifically the MSD Solutions Lab, we're interested in these work-related musculoskeletal disorders, which are those that are either caused by or exacerbated by your working conditions. So MSDs might be things like sprains, strains, ruptures, tendonitis that you can see on this little worker on your screen. And so you probably know that these injuries can make a really big impact on both people and businesses. They're not just one of the biggest safety challenges facing today's workers, with nearly a quarter of the global population being impacted by MSDs, but they're also one of the biggest challenges facing today's employers. MSDs are the most common cause of global disability, limitations to gainful employment, and they cause employers to lose money, time, and talent. So really have the potential to make a big impact here if we can mitigate and eliminate MSDs in the workplace. These injuries also take a toll on workers' families and their communities, but thankfully these injuries are preventable. And so it's for these reasons that MSC, with funding and support from Amazon, has really been focused on addressing this widespread safety challenge these past couple of years. So our mission at the lab is kind of what you see here on the screen, pretty simple, to eliminate MSDs from workplaces worldwide so workers can spend more time doing the things that they love with the people that they love. And while this ethos is simple, we recognize that eliminating or mitigating MSDs can kind of be tricky business. And so that's where we need technology innovators like you all to come into play and help us out. And so just a little overview of kind of what we do in the MSD Solutions Lab and how we kind of go about working toward our mission of eliminating MSDs in the workplace. But the lab really functions within these four main pillars that you see here. The first of these being our engage pillar, where we're trying to meaningfully engage with employers and workers and experts in this space to really move the needle forward. We also have a strong research pillar in which we create and disseminate things like white papers, infographics, case studies, and other resources to really bring more knowledge and awareness to this topic and create kind of practical applications and practical change. We have our solve pillar, in which our goal is to identify and pilot and also scale unique solutions, which is where things like this MSD prevention challenge come into play. And then lastly, we're really just trying to sound the alarm on the issue of MSDs. So a lot of our efforts are around amplifying this work to draw more attention to this topic. And so, like I said, the MSD prevention challenge with TechNet really fits into our solve pillar here. And like Laura mentioned, we've run these challenges before. We have run them at the National Safety Council's Congress and Expo for the past couple of years. And this past year, we partnered with TechConnect to do our Safety Innovation Challenge at NSC Congress. So this is a format and event type that we're really familiar with at the National Safety Council, and we really see the utility in. And our past events have shown us that this is a topic that is really in need to kind of showcase these MSD prevention technologies. So we're excited to get to run one again at TechConnect World. And so I'll segue into discussing kind of what we're looking for in the MSD Prevention Challenge at TechConnect World, and in particular, innovative solutions that can be applied to MSD prevention and improvements in workplace ergo. And so this is likely familiar to you if you're a safety technology provider, but just at a foundational level in workplace safety, we often discuss interventions or solutions in terms of where they fall in the hierarchy of controls. So I won't read this all to you, but if you're familiar with this, we're really looking for solutions that kind of land in this top half of the triangle here, because they kind of give us the most bang for our buck. They do the best at mitigating and eliminating MSD risk from the workplace. And so if your technology or your solution can kind of engineer out some of the hazards in the workplace or eliminate entirely, or kind of replace some of those hazardous sources with less hazardous alternatives, that's really what we like to see out of these technologies and solutions. Not to say that things like PPE or other administrative controls aren't worthwhile, but we like to see them kind of at the top of this hierarchy of controls when we can. Those have been shown to be most effective. And so Laura already touched on this some, but we're looking to control and eliminate these risk factors in folks' workstations with their tools, equipment, and machinery, with their tasks and the work practices that they do, or in their working environments. But we recognize that sometimes we might need technology to help us out with these things. And so again, that's kind of where you guys come into play. And so some common types of MSD prevention technology, Laura already covered this, but we've got things like computer vision, wearable sensors, cobots and robots, or extended and virtual reality. We've seen folks with all these different types of tech showcase in the past. Not to say that you have to fit into these buckets, but these are some of the common MSD prevention technologies that are out there. And we're really excited about those other technologies that might fall outside of these kind of 5 most common. If it's something new that we haven't seen before, we're really open to understanding more about your innovation and giving you the opportunity to showcase with us at Tech Connect World. So again, these are common types, but not to say that this is an exhaustive list. And so at this year's Technology Challenge, we're excited to spotlight innovations that directly improve workplace safety and ergonomics, especially those that address the most common and persistent high-risk physical demands that are faced by workers. So Laura kind of introduced some of these things. So definitely the 3 biggies are forceful exertions, repetitive motions, and awkward postures. But that's not to say that your technology might not also focus on things like vibration, whether that's hand-arm vibration or whole body vibration. We recognize there's technologies that can try to tampen or eliminate the effects of vibration exposure, or even other ergonomic risk factors, things like fatigue that might be impacting someone's MSD propensity. Really, there could be a wide array of ways that your technology is trying to get at MSD risk mitigation. We're also looking for innovations that are applicable to high-risk tasks that folks might do where the potential for injury or long-term harm is really the greatest. Also especially interested in solutions that could be deployed in demanding environments, and innovations that can be adjustable or flexible, so allowing for some customization across different users or different tasks, different industries or work settings, really to ensure some broader applicability and greater impact. And lastly, we hope that solutions can not only provide better safety, but also deliver strong ROI for organizations. So whether that's through reduced injury rates and associated cost, increased productivity, or improved worker satisfaction and retention, really looking for some kind of understanding of the potential ROI or already realized ROI of your innovation. And so some things that particularly pique our interest are some of these following characteristics here. I kind of already mentioned the unique aspect. So maybe something that's more novel that we haven't seen before, not currently on the market for MSD mitigation strategies. Any focus on underrepresented workers or workers in underrepresented industries is also of interest to us, especially if they've maybe been overlooked in the past for ergonomic interventions. Things that are low cost and easy to implement, I think there's always an interest in those from both a funding perspective, but also from implementing organization perspective. So a couple other things that are definitely of interest to us. Something that's scalable, so that could be expanded across multiple work sites, maybe not just in a particular use case. And then anything that's been proven in other fields outside of ergonomics that might relate to ergonomics or MSD prevention would be of interest of us. In the past, we've had VR group, for instance, that I'm thinking of, that provided more education and training, but recognized that their technology could be applied to MSD mitigation training. So recognize how their technology that has currently worked in some of these other situations could be applied to ergonomics and MSD prevention as well. So I think any interesting crossover like that is definitely of interest to us. And so Laura already covered some of this, but some perks for innovators. She'll be showcasing your technology at this event to a different audience than a lot of safety and health conferences. Like Laura mentioned, it's a bit of a different crowd, which I think is a great opportunity for those of us who attend a lot of safety and health conferences to really get in front of a different group. That can bring fresh perspective for you and feedback on your technology, but also provides you the opportunity to meet with new investors or other kind of new opportunities from that. We already covered the prototype and early stage technologies, so a great opportunity for those at that stage as well. Not having to be market ready, I think, is a big perk for the innovators as well. And also being in the MSD Innovation Corridor, this is, like Laura mentioned, going to be a really high visibility space that's designed to spotlight these cutting edge solutions. And so you'll get to be associated with the MSD brand, who, like I mentioned, is really a trusted leader in safety and innovation, which can add some credibility and recognition to your work. And really the opportunity to receive some of that feedback being in the booth as well from those walking through, I think is another great opportunity. And then just another plug for the travel and attendance stipend up to $4,500. Don't want to lose that. I think that can be a really big plus for getting to partner with us through the challenge. And so we really hope that you'll submit your application to join us in Raleigh in March. But Laura, that's all I got.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. All right, so we're open to any questions. I'll start with one that we went ahead and got, but if you have any that you want to enter, don't forget the control panel's right there. Just pop it in and we'll get to it for sure. If there's something we can't answer, then we will find an answer for you. Okay, so the first one is whether there are any funding opportunities associated with the challenge. So the only sort of dollars exchanged would be through the travel stipend. So there's not an award. If you make it there and you pitch, you can consider yourself like an awardee, like you've made it to the final, opportunity available. And that is really the chance to seek multidisciplinary partners, beyond maybe your normal reach. And that would allow you, possible future opportunities, whether that you're looking for funding or partnership or co-development or whatever that may be. That's the sort of audience that's here. So kind of expanding your reach. And as Paige mentioned, also the brand kind of connection, affiliation, and credibility that come with getting to be part of the corridor and connected to NSC through this. So hopefully that answers that question. Any other color on that page or?
No,
that's right.
Yep. That's all. Yep.
And then I have a question as well here. It says, Tech Connect is heavily engaged with US national and federal innovation ecosystems. How differently would you deal or treat with an innovation from another country? So we're open to innovations for this challenge from any country that's not export controlled. So as long as you meet that basic criteria, then you're set. And we would encourage you to be part of and travel to the event and take advantage of the travel stipend in order to do that. So all locations. And if you need a list of export controlled countries, I feel like if you're there, you probably know that you're there. But if you need one, then we can definitely provide that. So feel free to reach out. All right, another one here. Are there other speaking opportunities beyond the pitch? So through the conference itself, yes. So you could explore other opportunities and apply into other challenges. And sort of fill your dance card that way if you'd like to. And so Tech Connect World is the name of the conference. And if you'd like, it's just techconnectworld.com. You can go there under the program tab, you'll see Enter an Innovation Challenge, and ours, MSD Prevention, is right at the top there. There are others though. If you work on textiles or with revolutionary fibers, you could explore that. And there are a number of challenges related to, technical domains, whether that's electronics or biotech or AI or something like that. So if you have a solution that also fits into another vertical, then you could accomplish getting into this one as a speaker and also, achieving that with another one of the challenges. And then the last area would be really if you're more of a researcher, you work out of a university, if you don't have something that you're feeling is like a fully fledged solution, we run technical symposia at which you could speak. And that's sort of the extent of speaking opportunities at the conference. All right, what other questions do you guys have? Anything? Here to answer them. If you haven't been to Tech Connect World before, it's a nearly 30-year running conference. It began as sort of a nanotech initiative 30 years ago and has really developed, grown many arms and legs since then. And what's unique about it is that it really touches like the full commercialization pipeline. So you have everything from like, research phase all the way to like, Fortune 100 companies in attendance, all trying to work together at various different stages. But no matter what your solution or your stage of development is for your technology, your solution, there's some connection there, and also for the next part of your journey. So it doesn't really end. So it's a very fluid space, and we look at everything innovation as being multidisciplinary. You're not a safety solution, or you're not an AI solution. You're just a technology, and it has many applications. And so that's where this really works well, because you could find yourself, connecting with, many different groups of people and potential partners. But that's a little bit on the conference there. Certain to find a home and find potential matches. It's a pretty broad group of folks looking for partnership. And all right, well, if you do find yourself with more questions, I'm going to give you my email address. It's Laura, Laura, at techconnect.org. I encourage you to check out techconnectworld.com, and the challenge website itself is off of that. So we're looking at the MSD Prevention Technology Challenge. I'll put this right now in the chat for everybody so you have a direct link. So it's techconnect.world.com/world 2026 MSD prevention. So check that out. Again, reach out if you have any questions. Paige and I both are happy to answer any of those along the way and sort of help nurture your application if you have anything that that's a burning need. And don't forget, November 14th, make sure that everything is in, and please don't submit anything confidential, because we'll have to boomerang that right back to you, and it just takes extra time. So want to make sure that that everything is free and clear in that way. So if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them, and thanks for taking the time to be here and learn a little bit more with us.